questions from you, and then we'll get on to a discussion, then we'll have lunch, and then he goes and he meets with the Pope. And that'll be very exciting. And say hello to the Pope for me.
Yeah,
okay.
I will.
Thank you very much for being
Thank you
here.
very much.
Thank you very much,
Mr. President. Thank you very much, and I would like to express my gratitude for your invitation. Only after 1 month from my sworn and from celebration for my inauguration, it means that Polish-American relations are very important, very strong. I bring my very hard me, and in vast majority they voted also those relation values independence by our common heroes.
Yes.
Kazimierz Puławski, very much terrific accident in Poland. Thank you for this gesture that F-35 opened our meeting. Mayor, he died. He lost 2 children, so it was a great tragedy.
But he was a fantastic pilot, and it was a big setback. The people of Poland are very, very sad. So we thought we'd do that. That was the.
Sorry to hear about that loss.
And machines, American machines, opened our meeting. It was great, and we are waiting for.
We've always from the
soldiers remaining in Poland.
Yeah,
remaining in Poland.
Yeah, if they want, but they're in Poland. We're very much aligned with Poland.
Sir, on Russia and China, sir, can we ask about, we saw a dramatic picture where we saw the leaders of Russia and North Korea and China together, the first time the leaders of those 3 countries have been together in this sort of show of solidarity. You said that there can
things, and I put out a truth. They're really looking to. I understood when they talk about freedom, America, that the United States was acknowledged. He's a friend of mine.
What was the reason?
They should have invited you, Mr. President.
What was the reason?
Mr. President, do you think they should have invited you?
Yes, go ahead.
You've expressed many times your frustration and disappointment with Putin, but there's no action since you took your office.
How do you know there's no? How do you know there's no action?
But
really? Wait.
Oh, here we go.
Who are you with?
Big Trump.
Okay. How do you know there's no action? Would you say that putting secondary sanctions on India, the largest purchaser outside of China, they're almost equal. Would you say there was no action? That cost hundreds of billions of dollars to Russia. You call that no action?
Hey,
I haven't done phase 2 yet or phase 3. But when you say there's no action, I think you ought to get yourself a new job, because if you remember 2 weeks ago I said if India buys, India's got big problems, and that's what happened. So don't tell me about that. Go ahead.
Mr. President,
Mr. President, right now there have been survivors of Jeffrey Epstein speaking at a press conference on Capitol Hill. They're calling for these case files, these documents to be released. And Thomas Massey, who was sponsoring a petition to get the House to vote on the release of those documents, says he doesn't believe you're implicated in these files, but many of your friends and donors may be, and he says that's why the Justice Department is redacting them and slow walking the release. Is the Justice Department protecting any friends or donors, sir?
So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends. You know, it reminds me a little of the Kennedy situation. We gave him everything over and over again, more and more and more, and nobody's ever satisfied.
What?
From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given. But it's really a Democrat hoax, because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president. Even if you look at D.C. right now, D.C., it's a totally safe zone. It's called a safe zone. That's a term. It's a term of art. It's a safe zone because it's very safe.
What is Trump even talking about?
And nothing's going to happen. No crime, no murders, no nothing. Because we had a lot of problems with certain places, and we still do. All run by Democrats, or for the most part run by Democrats. So what they're trying to do with the Epstein hoax is get people to talk about that instead of speaking about the tremendous success, like ending 7 wars. I ended 7 wars. Nobody's going to talk about, because they're going to talk about the Epstein, whatever. I understand that we were subpoenaed to give files, and I understand we've given thousands of pages of files. And I know that no matter what you do, it's going to keep going. And I think it's enough, because I think we should talk about the greatness of our country and the success that we're having. I think we're probably having, according to what I read, even
What?
from two people in this room, we're having the most successful 8 months of any president ever. And that's what I want to talk about. That's what we should be talking about, not the Epstein hoax.
When do you make a decision on
Epstein, it's a hoax now? Oh, wait a minute, chat.
I have no message to President Putin. He knows where I stand, and he'll make a decision one way or the other. Whatever his decision is, we'll either be happy about it.
Wait a
or
minute,
unhappy.
chat.
And if we're unhappy about it, you'll see things happen.
Venezuela, can you give us a sense of what the U.S. policy or what you're trying to achieve with the aircraft carriers or the boats, I should say, in near Venezuela, and also the boat that you mentioned yesterday where 11 people were killed? What was found on that boat, and why were the men killed instead of taken into
On the boat,
custody?
you had massive amounts of drugs. We have tapes of them speaking. It was massive amounts of drugs coming into our country to kill a lot of people. And everybody fully understands that. In fact, you see it. You see the bags of drugs all over the boat. And they were hit, obviously. They won't be doing it again. And I think a lot of other people won't be doing it again when they watch that tape. They're going to say, let's not do this. We have to protect our country, and we're going to. Venezuela's been a very bad actor. They've been, as you know, they've been sending millions of people into our country, many of them Tren de Aragua, some of the worst gangs, some of the worst people anywhere in the world in terms of gangs. And we had some in Washington, D.C. We took care of them very quickly, but they're out of here. They've gone. But Venezuela's been very bad, both in terms of drugs and sending some of the worst criminals anywhere in the world into our country. They emptied out, you don't know this, but they emptied out their prisons in Venezuela, and they emptied them out into the United States of America. And that's part of the problem we have. We're getting them out. We're getting them out rapidly, but it's caused a tremendous problem. And Pete and all of the people that are working very hard to rectify the stupidity of the Biden administration, allowing these people to pour into our country with open borders. We are paying a big price as a country for the incompetence of the Biden administration. But think of it, opened up prisons, drug dealers, drug lords, everything coming out of Venezuela, they said, and we said, we're not going to put up with it anymore. So Venezuela has been one of the worst actors in the whole group, and we have a group of pretty bad actors.
Are you wanting to force withdrawal?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President.
This is wild. The Epstein deflection is absolutely crazy to me.
Do you think we can avoid a government shutdown?
Yeah, I do. I think the Republicans will vote for an extension. We won't have any Democrat votes. We could give the greatest budget ever. Tax cut of 50%, everybody taken care of, perfect for women, perfect for men, perfect for minorities, perfect for everything, and we wouldn't get one vote for the Democrats because they've lost their mind. They are so deranged. They have Trump derangement syndrome, and I don't want to
TDS.
burn the Republican Party with it, but they really are. They've become almost sick. They actually think there is a disease. It's called Trump derangement syndrome. They've got it. No matter what we did, no matter how good, you could give them everything that they've ever dreamed of, and you wouldn't get one vote. These are sick people, and I think we're going to have a tremendous midterm. We just approved the largest tax decrease in the history of our country. We have things, if you think of it, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security for our seniors, no tax on overtime, deductions when you buy a car and you borrow money to buy a car. First time they've ever seen anything like this. Middle-income people get deductions. You get a deduction when you buy a car. Nobody's ever seen. And by the way, they're selling cars like crazy. Cars are pouring back because of the fact that we have tariffs. Cars are pouring back into our car plants are pouring back into our nation. They're coming from all over the world. They're coming back. You know, we lost about 54% of automobile manufacturing over a 30-year period, 35-year period. They're all coming back. I think they're coming back higher than ever before. We have AI going up. What we've done is amazing, and what we've passed is amazing. But the Democrats, I don't believe, will get one vote. It's very anti-crime. We want anti-crime. They're in favor of crime. We're against crime. You know, they gave us things like men playing in women's sports, open borders for everybody, transgender for everybody. I mean, they wanted transgender for all of the crazy things that they were saying. And, you know, people say,
let me open these lights. How y'all doing today, man? Thank y'all for tapping in.
I always say 97 to 3, and nobody knows who the three are. this is the best issue of all. They are against preventing crime. They are fighting us. I want to go into Chicago, and I have this incompetent governor that doesn't want us. Do you know that this weekend 72 people were shot in Chicago? I'm embarrassed to say it in front of the president.
Thought it was 50.
11 people were killed. 72 people were shot. Last week, 7 people were killed in Chicago, a place which is probably your #1 place. I hate to say it.
Yeah, a lot
But
of Poles
se-
in Chicago.
and we got to keep it safe. But 7 people.
A lot of
were
Polish
killed.
people in
The week
Chicago?
before
I didn't know
5
that.
people were killed, and 21 people were shot. This is in 3 weeks. So in 3 weeks, I lost almost 35 people were killed. It could have been stopped. If you look at Washington, D.C., 3 weeks ago, it was the same or worse. And now it's considered a totally safe zone. Restaurants are open, they're bustling. Restaurants, you have to see, restaurants were dying. Nobody wanted to go out. They didn't want to be attacked. They didn't want to be mugged. They didn't want to be attacked.
That's because
even
the
at a
price of
restaurant.
food. It wasn't because of that.
Take a look at what's happened. Friends of mine that haven't gone to a restaurant in 4 years, one of them went out 5 times in the last 2 weeks to a restaurant with his family.
Are you for real?
Totally safe.
That's 'cause of COVID.
Washington, D.C. is a totally safe
That's COVID
city.
shock.
You're not reporting any crime. Because
Everybody been
there's no-
outside, man.
They said crime is down 87%, and I said, no, it's not. It's down 100%. We have a great thing going. I could do that with Chicago. We could do that with New York.
Uh-oh.
We could do it with Los Angeles.
Uh-oh.
So we're making a determination now. Do we go to Chicago, or do we go to a place like New Orleans, where we
I
have
was
a
gonna
great
say.
governor, Jeff Landry, who wants us to come in and straighten out
Royce.
a very nice section of this country that's become quite, quite tough, quite bad. So we're going to be going to maybe Louisiana, and you have New Orleans, which has a crime problem. We'll straighten that out in about 2 weeks. It'll take us 2 weeks, easier than D.C. But we could straighten out Chicago. All they have to do is ask us. To go into Chicago, if we don't have the support of some of these politicians, but I'll tell you who is supporting us, the people of Chicago. And I sort of want them to let it be known. They have incompetent people. A guy like Gavin Newsom, he's the governor of a state that if we didn't go into Los Angeles with our soldiers, with our National Guard, you wouldn't even be having the Olympics there. They were going to take it. And remember this, your top law enforcement officer in Los Angeles said, there's no way we could have done this
Hey, Lori.
without President
Sweet
Trump
Lori.
coming in with the troops. We saved Los Angeles and we saved the Olympics. Thank you very much.
Man, listen, I gotta call my people in LA. I didn't know Trump saved y'all.
Andrew, thank you. Mr. President, in regards to Gavin Newsom, would you be open to a congressional investigation in regards to the specific Palisades fire where it killed 12 seniors to see if there's any negligence on Gavin Newsom or Karen Bass in regards to those deaths?
Well, I'll tell you, there's negligence on not getting people permits. That is negligent. We got all of the federal permits. Lee Zeldin, the federal permits are much more difficult. They were all gotten within 30 days. People could go build their houses. It's going to be years before they are allowed to build their house.
CD, tell us more, brother.
This is grossly incompetent. And Newsom, this is a very incompetent guy. I watched him with the hands. I'm saying, what's going on with the hands? There's something wrong with him. Do you watch him? There's something wrong with this guy. But more importantly, he didn't allow the water to come from the Pacific Northwest. You know, they have tremendous amounts of water in California. People don't know. They send the water out to the Pacific Ocean. So I demanded it be open. If that were open during the fire, before the fire, you wouldn't have had the fire because all the sprinklers would have worked in the houses. They had no water. They had no water in the fire hydrants. You wouldn't have had
This is
the fire.
America.
It would have been put out after one house, 2 houses. But he stopped the water from coming in. And I had to send in the military to have that water opened after the fires. And now they have water, but he should have
Oh, the volume drop. Appreciate that. Didn't know. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Technical difficulties. See if it works there. 1 second.
2% to 5%. But
We'll be
Poland
back.
was
My bad on that. Appreciate you.
nations that paid more than they were supposed to, which was a very nice thing. Yeah.
Will you accept that you were not invited to the parade in Beijing?
Never even thought about it until just now.
President Nawrocki, what's your message for President?
Never even thought. It wouldn't have been my place to be there.
Can we ask you on tariffs?
Will you visit a restaurant in D.C.? You haven't gone to.
I might, sure.
You haven't gone to one in either of your terms that wasn't.
How do you know? How do you know?
Because I and many other.
Do you want me to
reporters
prove
keep
you
track.
wrong? Do you want me to prove you wrong?
Yes, please.
But I will, I think it's something we could consider doing. Love to do it. I love the White House food, but after a while I could see going to a nice restaurant. It's safe. If you would have said like the Governor
Appreciate
Moore
that call
wanted
out,
me to
Kat.
go and walk through Baltimore with him, and I said, you know, I think I'm a brave guy, but there's no reason to be stupid. They have crime that's at levels that nobody's ever seen before in Baltimore. They've done a terrible job. We'd go into Baltimore, straighten it out very quickly too. You know why? They respect our soldiers. You see our soldiers. They respect our soldiers. We'd go there too.
Nobody's trying to go to jail, bro.
We're going
What
to have
you mean?
people asking us to go. They're going to want to, and I think the people of those places are, the politicians are not in tune with the people. The people in Chicago, the people in Baltimore, the people in all of the places we talk about, they want to see us there. And I think we're pretty much waiting till we get asked and properly. Because we're doing them a big service. Yeah, please.
You're talking about how historic these tariffs have been, bringing in revenue, additional revenue for our country. You've also mentioned before they could possibly replace federal income tax.
Possible.
Do you think that's
Someday it's possible. It used to be. So if you go back,
Yeah, you see the hair kind of faded this morning. It's really
1913
great.
is when they ended tariffs. We were the richest ever from 1850. It was all tariffs. We didn't have income tax.
1850. Oh, going back to slavery.
1813. In the 1887s, about 1887.
Okay, 20 years after slavery.
Great National Tariff Act.
Okay.
And it was a group of people that got together because our country was so rich,
Mhm.
they didn't know what to do with the money.
They didn't know
We
what to
had
do.
so much money, they didn't know what to do. It was a group of very prominent people
Who?
that were set up to hand out money to everybody.
Okay.
Because we were the richest we ever were, proportionately.
And what'd they give the money to is the question,
1887, around that
Mr.
time.
President.
Even in 1913, we ended them in 1913. How did that work out? And then we went to the income tax.
Reconstruction? Okay.
And then we had the Depression.
Okay.
By the way, a lot of people try and say that, oh, tariffs with the Depression. No, they ended in 1913, and then we went to income tax, and then in 1929 you had the Depression. They did try and bring it back in 1931-32, but the Depression had long started, and this poor, beautiful nation was gone. It was gone. We suffered for 25 years. It took 25, 30 years to really recover from the Depression. And we don't ever want to see that happen again.
So I hate pausing the president midstream. But let's be for real for a second. What he just quoted is going back to 1813, 1887, we had no tariffs. People didn't know what to do with money. They were giving out money. The people, and guess what? They were giving out money to landowners who lost slaves through emancipation. They were giving out everything that you needed to foundational Americans, not black Americans, just foundational Americans, white people, or people who were here, not of this skin color. No YouTube back then. Up until 1913. Now, that's a nice gap of the reconstruction of America, the emancipation of men, black people. Haven't even got voting rights yet. Up in 1913. And we're just talking about government, so we haven't got the voting rights for what it is, right? You really think we can eliminate the federal income tax and survive right now as a country? They're talking about property taxes in some states. Florida, they're trying to eliminate property taxes. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's also speaking regarding Epstein files that Trump said is a Democratic hoax. I didn't know she supported Democratic hoaxes. Crazy as that sounds, right? And now we want to go back to a methodology, a thought process. People didn't even have foundational civil rights in America. And you want to talk about tariffs, income tax. It's crazy. Thank you for liking and subscribing to the channel. If it's first time here, I am the hip-hop lobbyist, a professional lobbyist. Actually, I have a call at 1 o'clock with Governor Ron DeSantis' office, not him himself, but some of his staff regarding some projects for next year. Guess what? Lobbying doesn't stop. Politics doesn't stop. Your emotions just keep you tied into whatever the fuck is hot. But either way, make sure you like and subscribe for more. We're going to keep this thing going. I'm making full screen when I have my calls at 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. We're going to stream all the way through. I'll mute my mic to make sure I'm professional across the board. But thank y'all for being here, liking, subscribing, tapping in. We're live on Twitch and YouTube today. Not TikTok yet, not Kick, not Rumble. But if it's your first time here, thank you for liking and subscribing. Let's get back to the president. I paused him so we didn't miss anything crucial. And then after this, we're going to get to some of the congressional members who are speaking on in D.C., the safe zone of D.C., about the Epstein victims.
The tariffs are vital to the success of this country. When I say I ended 7 wars, at least half of those wars were ended because of the power of tariffs. I was able to say, well, we're not doing any business with you, or if you're going to war, we're putting a big tariff on you. And all of a sudden they announced that the war was settled. I settled 7 different wars, one going 31 years, look at the Congo and Rwanda, look at that, 31 years, 10 million people dead.
We're going to relate it back to Chicago now?
I got it settled. And a little bit of that one, less than in some cases, had to do with trade and had to do with tariffs. So, tariffs are vital to our country. And just so you know, other countries use them on us, but I just use them a lot better. We're in a much better position. We have trillions of dollars coming into our country. If we didn't have tariffs, we would be a very poor nation, and we would be taken advantage of by every other nation in the world, friend and foe. We're not going to let that happen. And we have a very, very big case in the Supreme Court. I can only say this. Our country has a chance to be unbelievably rich again, but it can also be unbelievably poor again. If we don't win that case, our country is going to suffer so greatly.
What's the backup plan, sir?
But I think we're going to have a big victory. Even if you look at the people that brought the case, they're foreign-oriented. They're
What does that even mean?
Countries have taken advantage of the United States for so many years. And I started with China. Last term, I took in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs from China. But when COVID came, the last thing I was going to do is we're going to tariff France and Italy and, others, Spain, when they were doing so badly. But now we made a deal with the European Union where they're paying us almost $1 trillion, and they're happy to do it. You know what? They're happy. It's done. These deals are all done. I guess we'd have to unwind them. We've done deals with Japan, with South Korea. We've done deals with many countries and others to come. And if we didn't have the power, prestige,
I gotta get on that Trump with my breathing.
used them wisely, and people respect
Especially the long
America
speeches.
again, and we've become a rich country again. The money coming in is incredible.
1 minute to
And
talk.
again, they use them on us. If we didn't have them,
Dog,
they
it's the
would use
president.
them
You
on
gotta
us.
let
We
the
would have no way to
president
fight them. we would be a third world nation. So I think it's one of the most important cases I've ever seen go before the Supreme Court of the U.S.
2 weeks ago, you gave Vladimir Putin a 2-week deadline to agree to talks with Volodymyr Zelensky. That deadline is now nearly approached. Can you give us any indication of when you will make a decision?
Well, I'm having a conversation with him very shortly, and I'll know pretty much what we're going to be doing. We've taken very strong action, as you know.
Okay.
And in other ways, we've taken very strong action. But I'll be speaking to him over the next few days, and we're going to see.
With who,
sir? I'm going to know exactly what's happening. But I'm not happy with all the people. You got 7,819 people killed last week. Russian soldiers and Ukraine soldiers. Right?
Wow.
Not American soldiers, not soldiers from Poland, but they're human beings. They're souls. They have parents. They wave goodbye to their parents, and their parents never see them again. That's the end of them. Over a stupid war, and I want to see it stopped. Now, we have stopped the money we send weapons to NATO. They pay full price. We don't, Biden spent $350 billion.
Biden had nothing to do with this.
And it was one of the reasons that this whole thing happened. A big reason this war happened was sitting right in these chairs, this one in particular. So
They didn't buy no chairs?
I think we're going to have a good solution. But they're losing soldiers at levels that nobody has seen since the Second World War. This is the worst conflict, and it's just going on and on. It's one's defense, one's offense. The offense moves a little bit, just a little bit. You take a look. They move inches.
Yeah.
They're dropping bombs and killing everybody. The whole thing is not since the Second World War has there been anything even close to this. And they're not soldiers from my country. This is my country. But I have a power to end things. That's why I was able to end 7 other wars. And you know that I thought...
What were these 7 other wars?
7. Those were tough wars to end. Much tougher, I thought, than the war with Ukraine and Russia. I thought that Ukraine and Russia have a very good relationship with President Putin. I thought that would be much easier. I thought that would be in the middle of the pack, maybe one of the easiest. Sometimes you never know with war. War is a very interesting thing. You never know with war. War is complex and dangerous, and what a mess, what a bloody mess.
What war?
It's going to get done one way or the other, but they have to stop killing all of these souls. They're souls, and we.
Go ahead, Pat. Put me up on game. Nah, this is real. This is not Saturday Night Live. Iran, Israel. Okay. Oh, it's over? All right, listen, all right. Stephen Miller, some other people in the White House. Y'all seen it for what it is. President Trump. What I'm going to go to next, I had something queued up from last night. Because if you were on the stream last night, let me make it full screen just for everyone here. I appreciate y'all tapping in. It's your boy, Hip Hop Lobbyist again. I'm just trying to set up the background here. But if you were here last night, we were streaming. We were going to talk about Epstein, all the other good stuff. But then my 3-year-old son, he's having a hard time sleeping, right? So when I start going, and we had the show going 8, 9 o'clock to 11, like a part of my sabbatical outside of politics was also a factor of realizing like, hey, my son's sleeping pattern is like really fucking up my recording schedule because it's like, this is my work time. Like I said, I have a 1 o'clock call, 2 o'clock call, like I'm working, I have client, other work. But I also say, I have a community of people I want to build out to on YouTube, and they've been subscribing and liking. And last time we hit 4,500 subscribers, and we started in April again, 400. Between 2 different breaks this year, we've grown to over 4,500 subscribers. So I appreciate every single one of y'all taking the time out of your day tapping in. I'm going to go to some of the Epstein victims. Like I said earlier, having not them speak, but having some of the congressional members, because what President Trump said was very key, very clutch out there. He highlighted the fact of this is a Democratic hoax. However, it's not just a Democrat leading this effort. They're Republicans. Marjorie Taylor Greene is one of those Republicans. So as we will see, let me get it together here. You see my girl in the blue. And more normally, I'm a Democrat. Y'all call me a Trumper. But my black folks in the culture, like, anytime I say something midway with Trump, if they catch that snippet, oh, he's a Trumper, he's MAGA, he's Black Republican, Uncle Tom, cool, that's nice, whatever, right? But then it's like, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jasmine Crockett. I'm on Jasmine's side. So we be beefing with Marjorie. But Marjorie may be a turncoat on the Republicans. Let's see what my girl has to say today. We're going to go to another interview that she had earlier yesterday. I saw on TikTok, Twitter. Let me slow myself down here, but let's get to this. Again, appreciate y'all tapping in. I paused this earlier when I saw that she was speaking. Let's get in after Con.
And I was very clear with Thomas. This is not against President Trump. I would like nothing more than a Truth Social post for him after this press conference saying just release the files. Be with Masih Khan. This is about something much deeper. It is about bringing this country together to stand for America's kids, to restore trust, and to move this country forward. So thank you to the survivors for helping us do that. Now I want to introduce Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Let's go, man.
Thank you.
I didn't listen to this. We listened to the president when she spoke at the same time. So let's hear what
everyone watching at home. I think it's important
to
put yourself in these women's shoes. As you're questioning, why can't they just name the names? What you don't realize is they just told their stories of being raped and being abused, being victimized, being manipulated, being coerced, and basically held in a prison of captivity of sexual abuse while they were young teenagers and extremely young, vulnerable women. And in Jeffrey Epstein's home and the places they went with him, they saw the most powerful people in the world in his pictures, and they saw him with those people. Can you imagine how terrifying it would be to name names like that? These are some of the richest, most powerful people in the world. Sue these women into poverty and homelessness. Yeah, it's a scary thing to name names, but I will tell you, I'm not afraid to name names. And so if they want to give me a list, I will walk in that Capitol on the House floor and I'll say every damn name that abused these women. I can do that for them, and I'd be proud to do it. Now, another thing, this is not about politics, and this is a boiling point in American history where the American people, just like Roe just said, there's become two Americas.
Right.
There's the America for the rich and the powerful and the elite.
Oh, yeah.
They never face any struggles or problems.
Let's go.
And never experience what real America goes through.
Let's go.
And then there's forgotten America.
Every day.
That faces all the problems.
Let's go.
And
Keep
deals
preaching.
with all the issues. And never gets justice for being sexually assaulted and raped by a monster. It shouldn't exist anymore, and people are sick of it. So let's recognize the fact that the administration before and the one before it and the one before it and the one before it and before it never did anything about this.
The facts.
So this isn't one political party or the other. It's a culmination of everyone worked together to silence these women and protect Jeffrey Epstein and his cabal. And this is not just rich, powerful people. Think his drivers, his maids, his chefs, all the people, people that worked in his home, security guards. I heard one story from a young woman that was being raped by Jeffrey Epstein when he was out on work release while he was serving time in prison and had an ankle monitor on his leg. Guess what? There was a police officer outside that door. So this list of names is quite a list of names, and it doesn't extend just in the rich, powerful circles. It extends down to the very bottom where people were paid. And again, I will say this, there's victims suffering today in similar circumstances, and they're terrified to name the names of the people that are currently abused.
Say the names.
And so with these brave, courageous women fighting this fight, this is a fight for women and children and any person that is facing sexual abuse and rape and captivity and human trafficking right now. And so here's what I ask you in the press. Don't go for salacious headlines. Go for the truth and defend these women and help those of us in Congress that are crossing our political party lines for doing the right thing and trying to do it together. And thank you, Ro, and thank you, Thomas. And now I recognize Thomas Massey from Kentucky.
Let's go. Let's hear from Thomas Massey. He was called a Democratic hoaxer today as well.
Well, there's 3 branches of government, and we're supposed to keep each other accountable. And that's what we're doing here today in the People's House. We're standing in front of the People's House with real people, not a hoax. And they've told their story. We wanted to give them a platform to speak, and they've had it. They stepped up, and they were brave. But I also today hope that they would persuade my colleagues to join this effort. But I found out something today that happened that I wasn't expecting. They persuaded me to fight even harder. I'm not going to give up.
Let's go.
And I want to end with this call to action. First, a call to action to my colleagues who, just an hour before this press conference, were prepared. They were given a fig leaf. We'll put a resolution on the floor so that you can say that you voted to protect the survivors. Their resolution doesn't really do anything. And that's the oldest trick
in the book. Let's go.
When you want to kill the momentum.
Yep.
When you want to kill initiative.
Yep.
You introduce a
resolution.
It's bullshit. Bill that does nothing.
Let's go.
And then try to pull the wool over the eyes of the American people. That's not going to happen this time. We demand real accountability. I encourage my colleagues, please. There's over 200 Republicans who have not signed this discharge petition.
Let's go, man.
We only need 2 of them to sign it. And every Democrat will sign it. And that will get us the number we need to force this vote. To pass a law, not a polite request to the DOJ to police themselves. No, we need legally binding legislation to force that to happen.
Let's go.
And my main call to action is to the people watching these live feeds that are going through these cameras right now. Congressmen, listen to you. Light up their phones. Burn down the phone lines here in Washington, D.C. Ask them the questions that these survivors wanted you to ask them. Why won't you be for transparency? Don't accept their answer that the bill has a flaw or that the survivors don't want it.
Hey, Peter.
We know that's not true. They wouldn't be fighting it so hard in this town if it wasn't the real bill. So with that, please call your congressman. Tell him or her to get on this bill and to stand up for these survivors. Thank you and God bless. That's the end.
See, and I'm gonna keep it going. I'm gonna just mute it because it's a little delayed. They were speaking during, I guess that's it for that. Let me switch over to another one. Actually, I had one of my favorites. Y'all know her. Jasmine Crockett spoke yesterday about the victims. And I'm going to just pause before I get to my girl, to be honest, right? Full face here, I think it's needed. Got to adjust my camera. There are a lot of victims out there in the world. And I think as a man, respectfully, this needs to be more of a hot button issue that's talked about rather than the bullshit today. Like, I get it. Kawhi Leonard took $28 million from another company, didn't do any advertising, now they're making it a headline for salary cap in the NBA. That's going to be a headline. Whatever Trump said today about Chicago and New Orleans, that's going to be a headline. But there are victims out there in these same cities that's in the deploying National Guard, in the same cities, rural county cities, wherever, right? Women that are victims. I think that we need to release the Epstein files, and I want to get into the actual legislation that they're going to put forward to get there. But I also see the narrative to say, okay, cool. You see Marjorie Taylor Greene, MTG, she's out there. She's on the side of the victims, release the files. She's willing to read all the names on the list. Cool. We need more people willing to lay on the sword for bipartisanship. Remember, if it's the first time here, remember I'm bi. I'm not bisexual, I'm bipartisan. I think bipartisan legislation helps American people because it doesn't get conflated too much into bullshit both sides, right? And I think that when you're trying to protect young women, protect families, and protect the safety of people in general, women especially, you need to release these files. You need to have transparency and make sure that these rape kits, we have funding for the rape kits to get tested, that we have whatever we need to make sure that young ladies and young men that are sexually assaulted and raped can tell their story and not fear that they're going to lose their life or be attacked or anything else like that, right? But let's get back to it. Bill Clinton is on the list. Hey, name them all. All right? I honestly feel that it's not a problem to name the people, because if it's anything else, right, especially in the black culture, the hip-hop culture for what it is, right, we shun these people. Like, did he get shunned in some aspect? Even though he's, fighting for whatever his final sentencing will be, but it's crazy. Let's get to Jasmine Crockett.
First of all, let me just say that. Thank you so much. And first of all, let me just say that we are standing before you. We're having this conversation because of the oversight Democratic leadership. And so I want to reiterate that it's the Democratic leadership on oversight that has truly been able to move this forward. I'm sure many of you don't recall, but we were sent home early to try to avoid being able to take a vote on something like getting these files. We are about doing real transparency.
I'll show you something she said yesterday.
We don't care who's in the files. We are going after you. So if I had to sum up what happened today, we heard the stories of victims, and honestly, we heard the story of at least one person that has never come forward before today. This was the very first time that she was telling anyone in a semi-public way her story. And if I had to summarize the theme, I would say that their theme was to do something. It is probably the theme of the American people in general right now when it comes to government, is that they want us to do something. So yes, we have the roundtable, but they actually want to see some action. The fact that this started off in the 90s, and we had someone who could talk about what happened to them in the 90s. But then you go down the line and you've got somebody that's telling us their story from 2008. These failures led to years and years of abuse that did not have to take place. And so the reality is this. Some think that this is all over, and some think that nothing else is going on. But if there was ever a RICO case,
President Trump is once again
the Epstein case. So how we went from something that should have been RICO because of how sophisticated of a system this was, and this wasn't just one little sick old man that was doing stuff, but there were so many layers, whether we're talking about the banks that were involved, whether we're talking about those that worked for him, that helped him, whether we're talking about the monster known as Maxwell. And that's exactly how y'all need to refer to her. She is a monster. She is not a victim. So let me tell you, I want some action items to come out of this, because for once we somewhat look like we're bipartisan in the Oversight Committee. Number one, we need answers. We need answers on why it is that Maxwell was transferred from her current station or her former station in Florida down to Texas. We need to have an understanding, because everything that I heard today leads me to know that for sure she was all up and in and through this entire process, not to mention that she was indicted by a jury of her peers, and then she was tried and convicted and given 20 years. So why is it that we had somebody, again, it almost seems like we are doomed to repeat our failures, because why is it we have high-level people that seemingly are running cover for a criminal? And that is what she is. She is a monster, and she is a criminal. So number one, we need answers on what happened with that transfer, why it took place. And honestly, we all need to stand together and say that Maxwell needs to go back to where the monsters go, which is to a higher level of security. We also need to understand that Debbie Wasserman Schultz has legislation that she has been trying to push forward. And so in a bipartisan way, we all need to get behind Debbie, because we found, and what we learned is that there were loopholes as it relates to the Crime Victims Act. So we've got to make sure that no other victims suffer in the way that they did when you have somebody like Alex Acosta that decides that he wants to play games and dismiss a case and never inform the victims of what's going on as is required by law. So we are going to have to fix those loopholes to make sure that that doesn't happen, because it took them 10 years of fighting this, and ultimately by the time they got to the end of it, well, it also was Jeffrey Epstein's end, and so there was not a resolution for that. And the final thing that I think that we need to do is, obviously, we need to continue to push forward and make sure that we get all the files, because we know that we have not received them all. Because I am standing in front of the press, I'm also going to make a plea. One of the things that I realized was that there's a lot of stuff that the DOJ may have, but honestly, if you don't have a thorough investigation, and I can't say if we had a thorough investigation or not, we have no idea. But the reality is that when you have investigators that go out and they collect information. I am not necessarily convinced that they even have gone out and done their due diligence to fully investigate this case in the first place. So if there's anyone in the public that believes that you have information that would be valuable, you've never been able to get through to federal agencies, or no one will listen to you when you try to go forward and bring information forward. I am asking that you trust oversight Dems and you bring that information to us, or if you know where some information is contained, let us know so that we can then send subpoenas out that way. We want to do right not only by those that have already suffered under Epstein, but we want to prevent other trafficking rings that we know are out there. We want to make sure that we are doing right for future generations.
All right, I'm gonna stop that there. And I know somebody commented earlier that, you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and you may have your own feelings about Jasmine Crockett, right? I love Jasmine, right? I caught some hell for Jasmine. I said something that she did that I didn't like, that she said around, you know, the Iran piece, and people took it and ran with it for what it was, right? But something I'm seeing here is that, oh look, it's Ghetto Girl, right? People are gonna have their own perspective, but again, I'm not bisexual, I'm bipartisan, and if you can get Jasmine Crockett and Marjorie Taylor Greene Taylor together, MTG, GT, I really don't know it, but I know they don't mix together, oil and vinegar. But if you get them together on an issue like this is what America cares about. Because at the end of the day, who's voting? Women. Who's been scrutinized the most? Black women through slavery, women throughout history. Women control the purse and the future right now. And I think that if you can get two of these figures together that are polar opposites on a policy like the Epstein files, which helps sexual abuse women, which helps at least put federal standards, maybe new federal standards in place and cut the loopholes and the bullshit, I think we can get there. But most people don't want constructive solutions. I'm an idiot. I'm part of the problem. No, I'm not part. I love the fact that she can energize people to be engaged in the process, in the culture. However, I do fault her for not educating people about simple shit. Like, I know for a fact she's passed more resolutions than actual laws. She's probably pulled out more money than that. But it's also to a fact that most people don't know the difference between a resolution and an actual piece of law. Just to be frank. And it's not just me. It's what it is. So you can say what you want about Jasmine. You can say what it is about this, but I want to hear what she has to say. And also you do too, because you're tapped into the channel. Make sure you like and subscribe for more. It is your boy, the Hip Hop Lobbyist. Again, I have a 1 o'clock call with Governor DeSantis' office, a 2 o'clock call with another client, and I got real business to handle. So I'm going to mute my mic and maybe keep the stream going if I catch another good live stream. But let's check out my girl, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and what she said yesterday in Congress. Let me make sure my audio is good. Let's check this out.
I was the second co-sponsor on Thomas Massey's resolution. After reading the entire resolution, I think it's very good. It's well written. It protects the victims, and it provides the transparency that the country deserves, and most importantly, the survivors deserve. Yes, I will be proudly signing the discharge petition.
Why is it important to do this in addition to what the Oversight Committee is doing?
Me personally, and I believe in transparency on all levels, and this shouldn't have been a battle, and unfortunately it has been one. And you know, as a woman myself, as a mother of 2 daughters, I can't imagine any young girl or any young woman being victimized and having the government and different people in power and basically a cabal of powerful, rich people, as well as the government, cover this up. And
now, just real quick, if you heard what she said, I think it's a part of her. Of course, she's a woman, but her daughters. And I think that's the part where the average woman, the average father, the average person is going to sit back and say, you know what, when I'm hearing these stories from these victims, and then I think about my family and my daughters and what could potentially happen to them, I think that's where you're going to find some more collegial works to get answers. Yes, there'll be fights still. about other issues. But this is one thing that we can actually have a glass of wine over and say, you know what, I fuck with you because of this. I don't agree with none of your other shit. But this one right here, we can find common ground on. And I think that I hate it has to be this divisive, but I also realize that for President Trump to say this is an Epstein hoax because some of his donors may be on the list, that this is being pushed by the Democrats, I think to educate the Fox News watchers, my people out there that's listening to everything out there that's not from the left, no CNN, no MSNBC, I want you to at least see, the ones that are tapped in here, at least to see, hey, these are Republicans going after this. These are Republicans going after justice for Epstein victims and sexual abuse victims in America. It's an issue. And at least now we're seeing that there's a human side to the bullshit. Where, you know what, if this happened to my daughters, there's nothing I could do as a sitting member of Congress to protect them outside of passing a piece of legislation that could at least give them justice if their dignity is ever taken from them. I'm going back a little bit, but let's hear it again.
Myself, as a mother of 2 daughters, I can't imagine any young girl or any young woman being victimized and having the government and different people in power and basically a cabal of powerful, rich people, as well as the government, cover this up and not prosecute these monsters. And so, yes, I'll probably sign the discharge petition, and I'll probably vote for it when it comes to the floor.
Are there files that the Department of Justice has, you believe, that would be some sort of smoking gun, or that would be some sort of thing that would really... Is there something specific that you know exists that you were trying to get, or is this in case there is something?
So I think all of us are learning as we go, and from what I learned today in our meeting, it was very lengthy, and there was a lot of information given gratefully. Those are some of the most courageous women I've ever met. These are women that have never truly received justice and have gone out and named names and done everything they can, and they have been failed horrifically.
Thanks for that comment. Yeah, Mike Johnson's another one we got to check out. He did speak on this earlier today too.
One place is in the case in New York. Another place would lie within the estate, Jeffrey Epstein's estate. Other information would lie within the FBI and Department of Justice, and that information we are being given, thankfully, on the Oversight Committee. We're being given a lot of information. There's also information in civil cases and trials. So there's information in many different places, and it'll require quite a pursuit to get it.
Have you heard from White House officials who are trying to undercut this discharge petition at this moment?
I haven't talked to anybody from the White House trying to undercut it, no.
Have GOP leaders asked you not to sign it?
No, I haven't been asked to not sign it.
Speaker Johnson said that the discharge petition in case he was essentially moot because of the oversight's investigation. Do you agree with that? What do you make of that?
Well, I just stated right here before, so I'll just repeat that I personally, as a woman and a mother of 2 daughters, think that at every level we should be trying to provide transparency. And we need to do this for victims of sexual assault and child abuse and sex abuse. And we need to do this for survivors. It needs to happen for these survivors of this cabal of people that allowed this abuse and kept this abuse going for so long with Jeffrey Epstein and others. But it needs to be done for survivors all over our country. It just is. So I'm on board with every level.
That's what I'm saying. Collectively, I don't think it's however you feel about Jasmine Crockett, however you feel about Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think it's how you feel about sexual assault victims. I think it's how you feel about, okay, we've seen the documentaries on Netflix. We've understood how this has been set up and how much money and all these wealthy people that were involved and how freaky these people can be. Even from the Diddy trial, we've seen how freaky these celebrities and these entertainers and people with wealth can be. It just doesn't make sense. They're sitting around watching their wife get smashed by someone else with baby oil. It's just crazy. But now you get to a point of saying, okay, who are the victims here? We're not talking casting. We're not talking rape. We're not talking politics. We're talking people. We're talking sexual assault victims. And I think that collectively, when you put the politics in it, which this is, it's good to see some bipartisanship in it. And you know what we're going to go to before my 1 o'clock call? the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, speak about this same issue. So let me make sure everything looks aesthetically pleasing, at least to some aspect, for people watching vertically on YouTube and my people on Twitch. And if you're watching on Twitch, it's actually easier. So if you're on Twitch, Hip Hop Lobbyist, if you're here, make sure you like and subscribe for more. I see the chat is popping today as always. I appreciate even the negative comments. I got to check in with Dee, see where we are. But let's get to Mike Johnson. I got a schedule to keep because I'm a professional too. We got 12 minutes here. I should wrap this up right before my 1 o'clock call. Let's see where we are.
Good afternoon, everyone. We just spent more than 2 hours with 6 of the Epstein victims, some of the bravest women I've ever met. They're very courageous. They shared their stories. Some of the ladies have shared these stories publicly before, but at least 2 of the women had never told their stories before, one for the very first time in the room. And so there were tears in the room. There was outrage. It was both, I would describe it as heartbreaking and infuriating that justice has been delayed so long. Some of the women in the room began to be groomed by Epstein and his accomplices, Ghislaine Maxwell and the others, 30 years ago. There were 4 attorneys in the room. Some of them began civil litigation against Epstein and the Epstein evils and everything associated with it 20 years ago. This has gone on for a long, long time. And they shared their stories. They shared how these brave young women, Epstein and his accomplices, stole their innocence, stole their very lives in some cases, stole their hopes and dreams and aspirations and ruined them in so many ways. But they came forward courageously to share their thoughts and their hopes in the House Oversight Committee and the House itself, that we would do this in a bipartisan fashion and seek those answers, and we will. They are owed that. There may be as many as 1,000 victims. Think of it, hundreds and hundreds of young women who some of us imagine seated behind these 6 women. One of the members in the committee said that they speak for all of them. And it's been long, long overdue. So the objective here is not just to uncover, investigate the Epstein evils, but also to ensure that this never happens again, and ultimately to find out why justice has been delayed for these ladies for so long.
We know why.
It is inexcusable, and it will stop now because the Congress is dialed in on this. I'm very grateful for the leadership of Chairman James Comer of the House Oversight Committee, who's with me here, and he's done an extraordinary job. August was a very busy district work period for so many members of Congress who were fanned out across the country in their districts doing town halls and business roundtables and constituent services. But our House Oversight Committee was working all along on their subpoenas. And I'll let him recount for you some of the great work that has already been done, but 34,000 Epstein documents have already been collected. We will not stop there. This is the beginning and not the end, and they are going through very carefully because we have 2 ultimate objectives here. We want to bring justice to every single person who was involved in the Epstein evils or the cover-up thereof, but we also want to be equally certain that we protect the innocent victims. Many of these young women, some of them are now middle-aged women, have never come forward. We do not want their names or identities to be uncovered carelessly or intentionally in any way. And so the House Oversight Committee, in a bipartisan fashion, is combing through these documents to ensure that we redact only the information related to the innocent victims themselves. We cannot be involved in subjecting them to any more harm. With that, I want to yield to our very able and very busy chairman for all the great work he's been doing, Jamie Comer.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll just give a quick update. I think everyone knows who all we've subpoenaed thus far in the initial batch. We subpoenaed 6 former attorneys general, as well as Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. We've expanded that to Alex Acosta. Acosta's coming in, I believe, September the 19th, 16th or 19th. We've got that date down. I know that we'll have a lot of questions for him with respect to an earlier Epstein prosecution that he was involved in when he was U.S. Attorney. We have the documents, the initial batch that have been sent by the White House. As you know, we also subpoenaed Pam Bondi for those documents. The White House is working with us. I want to publicly thank the White House for turning over so many documents thus far. We're in the process of uploading those documents for full transparency so everyone in America can see those documents. It's going to, as quick as we can get them uploaded, and as the speaker said, there are 34,000 pages. So we're doing everything we can to get those uploaded. We want those to be public as soon as possible. And then we're going to continue to bring in more people. We learned of some additional names today. We're going to do everything we can to give the American public the transparency they seek, as well as provide accountability in memory of the victims who have already passed away, as well as those that were in the room, and many others who haven't come forward. So
I agree
we're
with
sincere
you.
about this.
Homestead.
This was a 2.5 hour
IG Higgy
discussion.
Homestead.
It was as bipartisan as anything I've seen in the 9 years I've been here. Appreciate the speaker for giving us the authority to seek out everything that I think you all want and the people that I talk to as I travel America want, and we're going to do everything we can to get the answers and to do it as soon as possible. I yield back.
Question or two, Manu? Go ahead.
The president has repeatedly referred to this as the Epstein hoax. You just sort of talked about these victims. Is it
Here we go. Mike, where we at?
I'm not sure what that comment refers to, but I've spoken to the president myself about this many times, and he is insistent as we are. He is the most transparent president in memory, probably in the history of the country. As you know, he stops. If he were here now, he would stand here and take your questions endlessly. That's his mindset, and he wants the American people to have information so they can draw their own conclusions. I've talked with him about this very subject myself, so I can tell you that
he did say he
is
released
his heart.
thousands
Now,
of
he
files.
also, just as we do, is insistent that we protect the innocent victims, and that's what this has been about. There'll be votes in the House this week to advance this and affirm what it's doing. We want everybody in the House wants to go on record in affirming what our Oversight Committee is doing in a bipartisan fashion. There's a discharge petition that is pending, and the reason that I was not comfortable with that and still am not comfortable with the discharge petition is because it was inartfully drafted. It does not adequately protect the innocent victims, and that is a critical component of this. So the work is being done. The Department of Justice and the administration are in full compliance with every congressional subpoena. In fact, they're moving it quickly. And so the American people are owed this information, and the expectation is it will come out soon. So.
What exactly in the Massey and Connor discharge petition doesn't protect survivors?
Yeah, look, it was inartfully drafted, okay? They cite, for example, a code article that is supposedly to protect child sex acts, okay? These are legal term of arts, but they cite the wrong U.S. code provision, so it doesn't actually have any force of law. They don't actually have adequate protections for whistleblowers. We want to encourage whistleblowers in an investigation like this, and there are standards and practices and procedures that are used in federal prosecutions and investigations.
So what it really sounds like is just more like, well, it's initially filed, didn't do enough. So we need y'all to put more teeth into it for a protection aspect, or it could just be politics. It could be like, hey, like, are you serious about this? We don't need you to do this. And it could be a buck of Republican leadership, because this is what happens when we have too much power. You know, they say that however Florida goes, the nation goes. Could be Congress, right? In Florida, we've seen the same thing. Republicans infighting and kind of boiling over into the executive office. This could be the same thing, but I think when you talk about sexual assault, a bipartisan issue that Representative Comer just highlighted a second ago, and you know the speaker is spelled wrong. This is Forbes. If you know, I just caught this. Speaker Johnson, right? I think this is butchered. They probably replaced this. I just literally looked down and caught that, trying to catch Comer's name, but I end up seeing that Forbes needs to hire a better script writer, if anything. Like, hey, your boy's looking for a little consulting gig. Forbes, make sure you reach out to your boy if you have somebody there watching today. But y'all see the Speaker Johnson, Speaker Johnson, and Rep. Comer. So Rep. Comer said it's one of the most bipartisan things he's seen in the past 9 years in Congress, and it's something to say. And I think this could be a delay politically, or it could be like, you know what, we like what you're doing, but it's going to expose some people. But maybe some of the victims are like, listen, we've held this story for so long that it's time to put them out there. I'm willing to get my not 15 minutes of fame, because that's not it, to share my story and let America know who victimized me and who may have taken my dignity away, right? But got a couple of minutes here. I have 1 o'clock. I was trying to go to a good live stream, but I did realize I haven't had the stream really listened to, or at least the people here. If you haven't seen the governor of Illinois say why they don't need Trump and they don't need the National Guard, well, we're going to go there. So I'm going to drop that here in the next couple of minutes. I'll transition over to that. But more than anything, I appreciate everybody tapping in to the stream today. I'm going to get back to this after my 1 o'clock call, but I need to make sure I can get, you know, my money in the budget for my clients next year. And that's a priority because I am a professional lobbyist and I don't work for the major corporations. Some I do, but nothing lobbying wise. You know, they hire me consulting for other issues, but I work with a lot of nonprofits, working with at-risk youth, seniors, organizations that want to help provide a bridge between where kids currently are on their path and a better chance at life. And I just really feel that it's great to be able to understand how to move in government and actually impact and change. And that's what I need to do, is understand the rules of the chessboard this next year and what Governor DeSantis has a priority of. And that's why, you know, you need to make change. So, excuse me, while Speaker Johnson and Rep. Comer are here, I'm going to check the chat and go through that, switch over to another stream. I'm going to go full on that so you won't see me. My mic will be muted. But I appreciate y'all tapping in. It'll be the governor of Illinois and the fight against Trump, the National Guard. And it's kind of tough to say respectfully when you have 50 plus people shot in a weekend after 42 people were shot that same weekend last year, Labor Day weekend. And you cannot tell the 7 to 10 people who have to bury family members this week or this next week that the National Guard is not needed. And I think it really, as a Democrat, for what it is, if you're a Republican, no, I'm a Democrat. It doesn't help when we're on the opposite side of fighting for illegal immigrants, for more crime to happen in our communities, because we don't want to, we're back in the blue, but we don't want to defund the police. We lost that fight. Now it's a fact of saying, okay, cool, we need to do more, but we can't police our neighborhoods. But how do you tell that to a mother who's just lost their child? You know, or a father who's lost their child either. It's tough. I have 3 minutes to that call. Let me just switch over to the governor. I think that'll be easier instead of me doing a mid-transition, being late to my call and fumbling, because you gotta be professional too. So we're gonna have this go. It's 55 minutes. Hopefully it won't be the whole time. Let me make sure it looks good for y'all on the stream. I'm actually gonna clock out of this, but I'll be on my call. After the call, I'll be back on. Appreciate y'all.
First, I want to address the president's unhinged remarks.
Wait, that ain't it. That ain't it. Wait, that ain't it. Wait. I thought I had it set up. I don't.
I will not call the president asking him to send troops to Chicago.
Even better. How
I
it
made
is.
that clear already. I know this has been an unsettling and difficult 10 days for the people of Chicago and Illinois. I'm going to do my best to share what we know as of today and speak frankly to the people of Illinois. Rumors have been swirling about what the White House has planned, and sifting fact from fiction has been increasingly difficult because Donald Trump's administration is not working in coordination with the city of Chicago, Cook County, or the state of Illinois. I want to take a moment at the top of my remarks to note how truly extraordinary it is for the federal government to refuse to coordinate with local law enforcement and government. Our state police regularly works with the FBI, the ATF, the DEA to go after gangs and gun runners and drug cartels. Under previous White House administrations, we regularly received notice and worked together on crime-fighting operations. This city has hosted major political conventions, flashpoint events like the NATO conference, and huge sports and entertainment gatherings over the years and across many presidential administrations. All those events required significant coordination between all levels of government. Some, like the Democratic National Convention last year, even required a limited deployment of the Illinois National Guard for broad security purposes, including especially preventing terrorism. For that 4-day event, there were conversations and meetings that began 1 year before the convention between my office, the mayor's office, the county board president's office, CPD, state police, the FBI, the Secret Service, and the Department of Homeland Security. the mayor and I were briefed at the highest levels of government, and we pledged unwavering support in the effort to pull off a convention that kept attendees safe and protected the rights of all citizens to express their First Amendment rights. The convention was a true success because of that collaboration. Fighting crime requires coordination. We have experienced nothing like that over the past several days and weeks. On Saturday, the head of the Illinois State Police received a phone call from CBP's Chief Patrol Agent, Gregory Bovino, indicating that ICE would be deploying to Chicago. It's the first outreach we have received from the Trump administration on this topic. Bovino was short on details and long on rhetoric. So in the absence of significant federal coordination, we've gathered information from unauthorized patriotic officials inside the government and from well-sourced reporters about Donald Trump's plan, which is to deploy armed military personnel to the streets of Chicago. I'm aware that the President of the United States likes to go on television and beg me to call and ask him for troops. I find this extraordinarily strange, as Chicago does not want troops on our streets. I also have experience asking the President for assistance, just to have the rug pulled out from underneath me when execution meets reality. I refuse to play a reality game show with Donald Trump again. What I want are the federal dollars that have been promised to Illinois and Chicago for violence prevention programs that have proven to work. That is money that Illinois taxpayers send to the federal government, and it's an insult to any and every citizen to suggest that any governor should have to beg the president of any political party for resources owed their people. I'd like to ask a question of my own, and it's one the press should be asking as well. When did we become a country where it's okay for the U.S. president to insist on national television that a state should call him to beg for anything, especially something we don't want? Have we truly lost all sense of sanity in this nation, that we treat this as normal? As I have done since becoming governor, I've been reflecting on my responsibilities to the people of Illinois. And one of those duties is to share with the public exactly what we know. In the coming days, we expect to see what has played out in Los Angeles and Washington, D.C. to happen here in Chicago. First, Donald Trump is positioning armed federal agents and staging military vehicles on federal property, such as the Great Lakes Naval Base. It is likely those agents will be with ICE, Customs and Border Patrol, the Department of Homeland Security, and other similarly situated federal agencies. Many of these individuals are being relocated from Los Angeles for deployment in Chicago. We believe that staging that has already begun started yesterday and continues into today. Second, unidentifiable agents in unmarked vehicles with masks are planning to raid Latino communities and say they're targeting violent criminals. As we saw in Los Angeles, a very, very small percentage of the individuals they will target will be violent criminals. Instead, you're likely to see videos of them hauling away mothers and fathers, traveling to work or picking up their kids from school. Sometimes they will detain, handcuff, and haul away children. They are law-abiding individuals who pay taxes and contribute to the communities who feel safe going to work and attending mandatory immigration check-ins. In other words, they're following the law. We have reason to believe that Stephen Miller chose the month of September to come to Chicago because of celebrations around Mexican Independence Day that happen here every year. It breaks my heart to report that we have been told ICE will try and disrupt community picnics and peaceful parades. Let's be clear, the terror and cruelty is the point, not the safety of anyone living here. Third, as lawful citizens exercise their First Amendment rights, Trump and his team will be looking for any excuse to put active duty military on our streets, supposedly to protect ICE. We have reason to believe that the Trump administration has already begun staging the Texas National Guard for deployment in Illinois. I want to be very clear on this point, and I want to speak directly to the press right now. We know, before anything has happened here, that the Trump plan is to use any excuse to deploy armed military personnel to Chicago. If someone flings a sandwich at an ICE agent, Trump will try and go on TV and declare an emergency in Chicago. I'm imploring everyone, if and when that happens, do not take the bait. Lastly, after about 30 days or so, we believe that they will pick up all of those resources that they send here to Chicago and send them to the next city in a blue state, ignoring cities in red states with higher violent crime rates than we have. None of this is about fighting crime or making Chicago safer. None of it. For Trump, it's about testing his power and producing a political drama to cover up for his corruption. If you need any proof of this, that it's all a big show, well, look at who they're putting in charge. Gregory Bovino, a guy who desperately wants to be a reality TV star. He led the cruel adventures of ICE in Los Angeles, and he's been sent here to do the very same thing. Go look at his social media. He terrorizes innocent people and then posts on TikTok edits of himself. Apparently, this is a Trump administration norm, because the last time we saw staged major ICE raids in Chicago, they sent Dr. Phil here to embed with the agents so he could get views and likes for his social media. When Bovino pulled these stunts in LA, people got hurt. 2 innocent people died trying to flee his masked agents. ICE opened fire on a vehicle without dangerous provocation. They detained a disabled 15-year-old, drew their guns on him. They have ripped mothers away from their babies and handcuffed 10-year-olds. In Washington, they pulled over firefighters headed to fight an actual wildfire and detained 2 of the firefighters on duty in that effort. And they want to bring all of that to Chicago. During one of Bovino's raids, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol's own data indicated that their officers had no prior knowledge of criminal or immigration history for 77 of the 78 people arrested.
That's wild.
Again,
I just got back.
It's not about crime.
Yeah, it is.
More and more reports around these raids include people who were stopped or detained because of how they look, and not because of any threat to them.
No, that is true as well. That is a problem. People gonna be stereotyping a bit.
Dealing with the complexities of a broken immigration system, then Trump would have had the Congress Trump Republicans control write and pass a comprehensive immigration bill. Not only has that not happened, there is no talk of any such effort on the horizon. I know how Donald Trump thinks because I've been governor during both of his terms. He has surrounded himself with groveling yes men who are too weak to restrain his most violent and unhinged
But don't we all do that? Don't all politicians do that?
As a governor who cares about the well-being of my people, I can't live in a fantasy land where I pretend Trump is not tearing this country apart for personal greed and power. I have to deal in.
Man, I think every president has done that, bro.
Crime is down
to be honest.
in Chicago. Murders are down by almost 50% in the last 4 years. Shootings are down 57%. Robberies down 34%. Burglaries down 21%. Motor vehicle thefts down.
See, but okay. Hold on, chat. And this is my thing with the position I said before my call with Governor DeSantis people. How Republicans have cornered Democrats into this position. Because now you're the governor of a state where in one city, over 50 people were shot and over 7 people died, over 5 people died. And you're saying it's not a bad, crime is down. The only thing going down is a casket, my brother, because I hate to say it that way because it's real, because people are going to bury their siblings, their aunties, their uncles, their family members in the next 2 weeks, and they have their elected leaders, black, white, Hispanic, whatever they may be, Republican, Democrat, God doesn't care when the time comes, right? You're telling them like, you know what, hey, we got it under control. And I know this is selective. Crime in Chicago is always bad, they say, right? Historically. But it does get to a point of saying like, okay, Democrats and Republicans collectively do not have the answer separately. We have to do this together. And I'm not saying, yeah, we need to send the troops into Chicago. What I'm saying is, after the 30 days, troops are there. If crime picks back up, we haven't solved the solution. There's a deeper underlying solution that needs to be solved. And the governor cannot sit here, 50 people get shot, and the black man standing behind you sitting, and all of a sudden, I don't know if my vertical people can see the brother. Oh, they can't see the people. Yeah, this brother standing behind you is listening to what you're saying after 50 people got shot in his city. After the Democrats, the black Republicans, in his city came after him. I've seen some of it. I was trying to get a good preview of some content. They came after I was trying to fix his high top because the high top is in it, above the black line. But 50 people get shot in this man's city. And you mean to tell me that Illinois is okay? I can only imagine that Chicago's got to be the most crime-infested city in your whole state. However, that violence is not okay in one weekend.
Have more work to do, but we have made important progress on safety that Trump is now jeopardizing. Just during the last week, I've been in neighborhoods across Chicago, from Bronzeville to South Shore to Chatham to Little Village. The president's absurd characterizations do not match what is happening on the ground here. He has no idea what he's talking about. There is no emergency that warrants deployment of troops.
50 people shot in one weekend is the problem.
Chicago by calling our home a hellhole. And anyone who takes his word at face value is insulting Chicagoans too. Crime is a reality that we all take seriously, me especially. I've held the hands of grieving mothers who have lost their kids to gun violence. I've been in consistent contact with law enforcement and managed our state through some of its toughest moments. That has informed our comprehensive evidence-based approach to crime, hiring more police officers and giving them more funding, gun and drug and gang interdiction, investing in community violence intervention, mental health supports, more substance use treatment. Those programs have shown real progress. Then
here's the issue I have, and I'm gonna talk to the governor in a second. I found the headline, right? In Florida, a good friend of mine, State Senator Audrey Gibson, former senator, let me correct that. There was a wave of violence in Jacksonville at one time, right? Jacksonville, Florida, right? City I currently reside in, for what it is. And sorry for that. There was a point of saying, my bad, vertical people. A Democratic member of the state legislature here at the time, we had a Republican mayor, felt crime was so bad that the National Guard should be deployed for the violent crime wave to protect the children, right? Now, Senator Gibson is a good friend, great friend across the board, but this had positives and negatives, both sides. It's like, damn, is crime really that bad that we need the National Guard? But it's like, this was a move that can be used both sides of the aisle, right? Respectfully. But collectively, in this situation, in a whole other state, Illinois, we have a city where maybe the National Guard, maybe if it was a Democrat state with a Republican mayor and a Democratic president, and the crime was happening, then they would turn on the mayor of Chicago to be like, hey, you need to fix the crime here. All right, we're going to send in the National Guard. And that's, you know what I'm saying? But those aren't the dynamics. So now you have to sit here with the dynamics of 50 plus people got shot in one city in my state, 40 something people last year. The president's on it. I don't want to give it up, but I got to fix this. And I don't think the electors can fix this, because if they could,
Donald Trump,
they wouldn't be running for re-election.
allies in Congress,
They would fix it and get the fuck out of the way. But this isn't about that.
those programs because they are unserious people who seem to know nothing about fighting crime. We are ready to fight troop deployments in court, and we will do everything possible to ensure that agents operating inside the confines of this state do so in a legal and ethical manner. To Chicagoans, what you can do is look out for your communities and your neighbors. Know your rights. Film things that you see happening in your neighborhoods and your streets and share them with the news media. Authoritarians thrive on your silence. Be loud for America. To everyone listening, but most especially to the press, I refuse to pretend that any of this is normal. I refuse to concede that the abject cruelty that we're seeing play out with the execution of Trump and Stephen Miller's policies are okay or justified. I refuse to fall into the pundit trap that demands we sacrifice vital constitutional rights if it's being done in the fake guise of fighting crime. Because, as I said 6 months ago in my State of the State address, any rational person who has spent even the most minimal amount of time studying human history has to ask themselves on one important question. Once they get the citizens of this nation comfortable with the current atrocities committed under the color of law, what comes next? Now I'd like to turn the podium over to the mayor of the city of Chicago.
Here you go, the mayor signed an executive order fighting Trump. Look at this, man. They may fail together.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon, everyone.
I hope they don't, but I can see it happening.
President Preckwinkle, Lieutenant Governor Stratton for being here. And our
Fix it up a little bit here. Hold on, yo.
to the members of the press. Today we stand here united as the state of Illinois, Cook County, and the city of Chicago to send a very clear message. We do not want or need military occupation in our city. We do not want or need militarized immigration enforcement in our city. We have been clear on that, and we will continue to take every single measure that we can to protect our people from these threats. However, I also want to be clear about this. There are measures that the federal government can take right now to help continue to drive down violence and crime in our city.
Let's go. What can we do?
We need the federal government to stop the endless flow of guns into our state and into our city.
Okay. That's a good one.
Chicago police officers have taken more than 24,000
Hey, Godfather.
guns, illegal guns off the streets of Chicago since I've taken office. Over 24,000 illegal guns taken off the streets of Chicago since I've been in office. They have worked hard every single day to make our city safer, and they've made historic progress. However, we will never be able to end gun violence in Chicago as long as the president continues to allow tens of thousands of guns to be trafficked into our state and our city.
Wait a minute now.
Vast
Wait a
majority of
minute.
guns do not come from Chicago. They are not made in Cook County. They are not bought in the state of Illinois. These guns come from red states.
They told me to stop saying the N-word on my stream. So this KN Grow is going to sit here and tell me that the guns are coming from Ohio or Kentucky or Tennessee and Alabama and Mississippi and Arkansas and Texas into Illinois, into Chicago. I'm not saying it's not true, but what I'm saying is Chicago's violence has been a problem for a long time, Mr. Mayor. I heard somebody tell you that You're supposed to be a substitute teacher or a teacher and you're going to serve and then leave, but you're running for re-election and they want you to go back to the classroom. My brother, I'm trying to tell you that that is a horrible ass line you just said. The crime in Chicago has been happening. There may not be a gun manufacturer in Illinois. Cool. In Chicago. Cool. Them guns are coming in regardless. And you're going to say the red states. They're coming in from blue states too. They're coming in from all over because they know that crime is popping in your city. What are we talking about? The mafia used to have crime running through Chicago. Chicago has never been a place where, you know what, you don't consider it to be one of the top 10 most dangerous cities in America. It's never been that way. Murder per capita, crime per capita has always been high. So for you to sit here as a mayor of a city, somebody in the chat said the governor of Chicago, absolutely crazy. Bro, you can't sit here and make up this bullshit, bro. See, the problem is, again, I said this on the stream a couple months ago. You get these liberal, lily white bullshit writers who just want to go off some talking points to make it political, right? Because now all your political aspirations of running for governor, of running for whatever the hell else after the mayor of Chicago, that shit's out the window, my boy. Because you have a writer on your staff that gas you up to follow the governor and say something about red states that have nothing to do with the fact of your mayor of a city with rising crime, where 50 plus people get shot on a weekend, and you're not addressing that. You're fighting Donald Trump. Do you care about the people that voted for you? My brother, do you really care about the people that voted for you? If you would do, you wouldn't say this bullshit. You'd be like, you know what? Shit. I got 7 families to call, 7 funerals to attend, on top of everything else I got going on and the others that already happened. The least I could do is get a little bit of help in this shit, and you making it political. Because I hate to say it, I love Chicago, but this shit ain't normal, man. That shit ain't real.
They are coming from Indiana. They are coming from Mississippi. They are coming from Louisiana.
Go ahead. I forget that man now.
That is the harsh reality.
Up the damn.
Whether Republicans like it or not.
Up the damn Mississippi River.
Occupying our city will do nothing to solve this problem. No matter how much work we do or how hard we work, whether it's expanding our detectives bureau, investing in community violence intervention, and addressing the root causes of crime, none of it will ever be enough until the president decides to end the mass trafficking of guns in our city. For every gun that the Chicago Police Department fights to get off the streets, 2 or 3 more new guns come into our city.
You sound so dumb, Mayor. I'm sorry. I shouldn't talk about brothers in an elected position that way. It's just demeaning. Have a brother in a powerful position, you talk down to him like a piece of shit, but he's insulting people's intelligence with bullshit. Bullshit. People don't want, no, the mother, again, who buried her son or her daughter or is going to bury her this weekend from the Labor Day activities, and she thought she was going to brunch, right? You can't go tell them, well, we got 1 gun off the street, but 2 more came in. At least structure this for the conversation of the mother that's sitting down, seeing your face and being like, I voted for this motherfucker. What does he got to say? But the gun came from Indiana. The gun came from Illinois. The gun came from Mississippi. The crime was already here.
Chicago will continue to have a violence problem as long as red states continue to have a gun problem. Shootings will continue as long as this presidential administration continues to put politics over people. We have sued Glock over their semi-automatic guns that are easily converted into...
This may be one of the dumbest brothers in all of U.S. politics, man.
We have taken down gun stores in Indiana that illegally sell thousands of guns to traffickers who move them into Chicago.
This may be the dumbest black elected official in America, bro.
And whenever we do this, another one pops up. The governor has worked extremely hard to strengthen our...
He's got to be the dumbest black elected official, the dumbest Democrat in fucking America, bro. Are you serious?
We cannot send officers across state lines to stop this problem at the source. We only have jurisdiction over our own city. The governor only has jurisdiction over our state lines. It is the role, and more importantly, the responsibility of the federal government and the president to stop the trafficking of weapons across state lines.
And he's reading this bullshit. I told you. He turned the fucking, I heard the fucking paper turn. He's reading this shit. It's not even authentic. This has to be, again, the dumbest black elected official in the United States, the fucking governor of Chicago. Yes, the governor of Chicago. Because it's a sanctuary city, they say. I'm gonna say it like that. Hopefully Trump catches the shit and says, you know what? Yeah, he does think he's the governor of Chicago. Right? You're reading this shit from the liberals. The governor's got his head down because he knows how dumb you motherfuckers sound. You laying on the sword of bullshit with the American flag behind you and your state flag and symbol sitting there. And it's an embarrassment. It's really an embarrassment because it's not authentic. I don't think you wrote this because no person in their right mind is going to sit here and say, yes, I don't need you to come here. I need you to stop the guns coming in from the red states. Indiana and Illinois and Mississippi. Who the fuck?
Every shooting in Chicago, there is a gun trafficker in Mississippi making money. There is a gun trafficker in Louisiana profiting off of our pain. This is a serious problem that has gone on for far too long, and it requires serious solutions.
You know what? I'll be real.
We wrote a letter to President.
If Chicago doesn't elect another black mayor in 10 years, I'll be fine with it because the last two just been so damn incompetent. Like, bruh, between Rahm, the chick that looked like a mop, and this one, Chicago just need to, like, they just need to, like, absolve themselves into the union, the whole state. Just absolve yourself. We'll go to 49 states, and then you'll just be, however, like the annex. We'll annex the entire state of Illinois into the regional states that are there, right? And then cut Chicago into like 3 states. So you'll like slice up the crime, right? Because the ignorance that's happening there, y'all let Jesse Smollett, Juicy Smollett, Gay Tupac come in here and make a mockery of your damn city and the police department. Maybe that was just a base and the foundation of the cake to say, you know what? Let's just annex the whole fucking state. Let's find a way to make their constitution unconstitutional and take the whole damn state away. Trump, what we doing? Big Trump, man, take Illinois away because it doesn't make sense to have this incompetence and this ignorance in the state. Again, maybe because I'm in Florida. But I do think that if I was in Georgia or Texas or New York, and there was a situation where 50 people were killed in a city, my city, that the mayor and the governor and everyone else wouldn't look at it as a problem. I'm just saying.
President Biden, after a mass shooting in Chicago 2 years ago, asking for more resources to stop gun violence in our city by deploying federal agents to hold these gun traffickers accountable. President Biden responded with more resources and stronger enforcement, and that alone had a significant impact on gun violence in our city. We need President Trump to do the same. Instead of using militarized ICE agents to terrify our communities here in Chicago, instead of sending in Border Patrol to our city to detain mothers and fathers who have called Chicago their home for decades, working class people who pay their taxes and make our communities stronger, they should direct those resources to taking down gun traffickers so that we can finally put a stop to the violence. If the Chicago Police Department had a fighting chance, we could end gun violence in Chicago. But as long as this president allows hundreds of thousands of guns to come into our city, we will always be fighting an uphill battle.
I'm trying to understand now here respectfully, Mr. Mayor of Chicago. The crime in Chicago didn't just start happening in November of 2024 after President Trump was reelected. The crime, remember, 42 people were shot last Labor Day when President Biden was in office. Where the hell was a national outcry for help and support? And I mean, like, the way you're fighting back now against President Trump, it should have been the same angst last year to say, hey, we need help, bruh. The people elected me for a reason. I'm here to help. We don't have the money to do it. I'm probably $3-4 billion short in our city budget, maybe $1 billion. I don't have the resources to do it. I need the federal government to tap in. So imagine this, your city broke and the people that's broke killing each other. And you're saying that you don't have a problem. How are you going to solve the problem? How are you going to solve the problem when you ain't got no money to fix the problem? I would say it's better to have and not want than to need and not have. How the fuck you going to fix it if you don't have the money and the resources to deploy? Somebody in the chat said, cops, more cops. If you can't afford to pay these cops, you think they're going to go out there and risk their life just to serve and protect? Nope. Benefits got to be right. Salary got to be right. And bitch, I got to know what the fuck going on. Right? So I think this is, again, the way she's looking at him, you probably can't see later. He just, bruh, you wore a black suit because you know it was your funeral. That's really what it was.
So our call to the president and to his fellow Republicans.
Not a damn thing.
Who want to weaponize the tragedy of gun violence. The Republicans who want to use the pain of families who have lost loved ones to shootings. And who want to use
he's a dude
our
dressed
city
as another dude playing another dude.
Our response is that they should get their own house in order before they say anything about the city of Chicago. We have done tremendous work.
The house is the whole United States. What are we talking about?
And explosives.
You even think about that before you said it?
Chicago. On August 4th, ATF worked with the Chicago Police Department to take 171 guns off the streets in just one action. They took 64 machine gun switches. These are devices that turn guns into automatic weapons. And they are almost always found on the scene of mass shootings in our city.
Yeah, of
These
course.
guns are linked to shootings and homicides in Chicago, going all the way back to 2017, including the killing of a 14-year-old boy.
Wait a minute. No. See.
Why did Trump cut $468 million from ATF's budget in his nasty signature bill?
Okay.
Why did he cut funding for the agency responsible for getting guns off our streets?
You see the bullshit though? Because the spinning the narrative in his sick face right now is basically saying, okay, cool. I'm gonna reference 2017 and let you know, oh shit, your boy was in office when this happened. So this is Trump's fault. It's not Obama's fault, even though Obama was, senator from Illinois, elected in Illinois. What was crime like in Illinois when he was president? Just curious, right? Regardless, it wasn't a problem then. It wasn't a problem until Trump comes. And again, this is the part where the argument where people say, oh, well, you're just attacking, you're a Trump supporter, you're a MAGA, you're a black Republican, you're Uncle Tom. Again, cool, have that opinion. This is common sense. There's some Democrats who have common sense. You know what? Yeah, this shit not as bad as Trump making it, but the shit ain't as good as we making it seem either. There's got to be a reality to it. Again, for the 10 people burying their family members this weekend or next week, if they can afford it, that's another issue. If they can afford to bury these people, they're the ones who are not buying this bullshit. And that's an ear and perspective I'm going for. A person, if I was a victim right now, I'm an American citizen, and I'm looking at this, am I believing this bullshit he's saying? That it's the White House's house to fix, clean up your own house? Don't you know that he's a president of the United States of America? You are in a state that's in the United States of America, sanctuary city for what it is. That means that you're in his house. We're all in Trump's house right now, technically. What the fuck? Who elected this guy?
By almost 30%. Why did he cut 1,465 positions from an agency that is so critical to reducing gun violence?
What's that have to do with today?
The agency that is actually stopping gun traffickers, so they could increase funding for ICE and Border Patrol. I'm going to repeat that again so that it sinks into.
None of your shit sunk in, bro.
Trump gutted the agency that actually catches gun traffickers, just so that he could hand money to ICE and Border Patrol. This president doesn't care about gun violence.
Again, I got to pause him because what he's relating is the recent cuts of ATF relating to the issue of this streamline from Illinois, Indiana, and Mississippi of guns and switches into Chicago, as if it's only happened during his term. Again, the issue is when 42 people died in your city last year, or 40 people died in the year before, or 30 people in any other weekend, or 16 people or a 14-year-old or a 10-year-old get shot. When did you have this say, Governor, this is getting outrageous. We need to have a conversation about these guns coming in our state, in my city. Maybe I missed that. Maybe it wasn't the headlines, but I didn't see that, and I don't see it. Because I don't see how you all of a sudden bring this up as a counter argument. You're just going to make the pot boil over. Trump going to send in more troops than ever. And then we're going to be sitting here mad and protesting. And hopefully y'all will be on the stream watching with me if you like and subscribe.
He just wants his own secret police force that will do publicity stunts whenever his poll numbers are sinking. Whenever his jobs report shows a stagnating economy. Whenever he needs another distraction from his failures. That's what this is about. The Trump administration.
A person who just lost their family members not trying to hear this.
The real pain and loss of gun violence victims as a pretext for
Hey,
expanding his own power. Unfortunately, even some elected officials in our city and state have parroted these lies. Here's the truth. Donald Trump is the last person in America who cares about families on the south.
Nah, bruh. I think you are, my boy, to be honest.
Who are dealing with violence on a regular basis.
You would have to be the last person to care about somebody's family. I personally, to my chat, to my community, I can't sit here and stand to hear this bullshit anymore. Respectfully, right? Now, I'll say to anybody, my ego will never be big enough to run for office. I feel that I could serve people. I know that even being a lobbyist, I could serve people and make government do what it needs to do. I can have my freedom, my weekends, and stream to you, right? But there'll never be a point in my life where I'm saying to myself, hey, I need to be elected in order to make change, in order to have an impact here in people's lives, right? I need to be in front of a TV camera. I need to be some, and I think the ego is a beautiful thing to waste, right? But that guy right there, he pissed me off. Because again, like I've said 3-4 times already, this guy's like he's saying the same shit over and over again, right? Somebody who's buried somebody, it's like, bro, they don't want to hear this bullshit, bro. They probably voted for you, and it's like, I voted for you to help keep our streets safe, and I've lost 2 family members in 2 years. You talk about re-election, and we don't need help. You can't convince them. I'm gonna hope we find some TikToks and people on the ground see what they say. But let's see what CNN has to say. And we surpassed, I just checked a second ago, over 4,600 subscribers. Thank y'all, everybody who's tapped in today and subscribed. I appreciate every single one. I'm not asking for money, I'm not begging for change. But I appreciate your time for taking it with your boy and help growing out this channel, this community. Let's see what CNN has to say about this crackdown.
Increasing threats to deploy federal forces to Chicago. The president said the Trump administration is increasing threats to deploy federal forces to Chicago. The president said he wants a crackdown on crime there, while the Democratic governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, is calling it something else, a potential invasion. So far this Labor Day weekend, dozens of shootings have been reported in Chicago. The president is warning that Pritzker, he better, quote, straighten it out fast or we're coming. The governor says the White House is making plans in secret without communicating with his office, and it does come as CNN is reporting that the Trump administration is planning a major immigration operation in Chicago as early as this week. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has confirmed that ICE will expand operations in that city and other locations. But Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson has now signed an executive order instructing local police not to assist in any federal immigration crackdown. Let's get right to Chicago this morning for the latest. CNN's Whitney Wild is there. Whitney,
who put a battery in this nigga's
John,
back?
the expectation here is that there are going to be federal resources surged into the city of Chicago
Sure
by
right,
Friday. The expectation is that's going to look like at least armored vehicles, very likely boots on the ground here. And when you're looking at some framework across the country to find out how this is going to look in Chicago, the question is it going to look like Washington, D.C., or is it going to look like Los Angeles? And our sources are telling us that this is going to look look a lot more like Los Angeles. And that means that this is going to be an immigration push. So the plan here, as we understand it, is that this is going to surge immigration agents to Chicago. The potential for the National Guard deployment would be for a peacekeeping effort. The White House in Los Angeles had previously said that the role of the National Guard was really to ensure that these agents can carry out their immigration duties effectively and safely. The city is doing whatever they can to try to stop this ahead of time, John. And law enforcement here will admit that there's just, and city leaders here will admit there's just not a lot that they can do. The Illinois Attorney General has made clear he cannot file a lawsuit preemptively. Meanwhile, Brandon Johnson, as you had mentioned, signed an executive order reaffirming the city's steps in reaction to this. So it directs city officials not to engage with federal officials as they carry out these actions. Specifically, the Chicago Police Department is not to partake in any of these actions.
My bad, y'all. Sending emails, not even checking the layout.
To try to stop this. Meanwhile, Governor J.B. Pritzker, who has publicly sparred with President Trump, who has drawn the president's ire by name, is firing back. Here are some very terse words from J.B. Pritzker on this potential immigration deployment.
No one in the administration, the president or anybody under him, has called anyone in my administration and me, have not called the city of Chicago or anyone else. So it's clear that in secret, they're planning this, well, it's an invasion with U.S. troops if they in fact do that.
The crime situation here, as we just had some crime stats up, I want to walk you through that a little bit more, because what the leaders here say is that Chicago represents a success story. They've been able to effectively bring down major crime categories in double digits. However, as you saw President Trump point out, they had a really violent weekend in Chicago over Labor Day weekend. 24 people shot, several people killed. So there is, you can make data say a lot of things, John. And for the Trump administration, it is representative of a major problem here. However, leaders here look at the crime drop as a success story.
Yeah, the data in the middle of the political debate right now. Whitney Wild for us in Chicago, thank you very much. Yana?
All right, joining me now is CNN senior political analyst Ron Brownstein. He's written a CNN analysis about the messaging from Democrats against the president, including his threats to send National Guard troops to more cities. It's titled, "This One Word Captures the Most Important Division Among Democrats," and not to spoil too much, but that word is distraction. So tell us more what you mean about that one important word, Ron.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the one word is distraction. When the Democratic congressional leaders like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries criticize Trump's actions in terms of threatening democracy or deploying troops to U.S. cities, they almost invariably, Bianna, describe it as a distraction from something else, whether it's Epstein, Medicaid cuts.
I think I have no problem with this guy. I think he's probably pretty well rounded and educated. You see me boss by leaning in. I gotta lean forward a little more. And he's got more books behind him, so he sounds more educated. I think if I put more books behind me, y'all probably be like, "Damn, Phil, know what the fuck you talking about, right?" But y'all still fuck me anyway. What's up, David? Hey, Mike. The issue I have is, respectfully, with this, it's just talking points. I don't want to hear about Medicare. They're talking about some damn ICE raids. Like, there has to be a point. I'm switching over here to a bipartisan congressional members about stock trading. AOC is going to speak in a second. But it has to be a point where we just don't talk about Medicaid and Medicare and Social Security. It's like, what does that have to do again with crime? ICE is the one thing. We know what he's going to do with ICE. We understand it's going to do everything, attacking everybody except the hospitality and the farm industry, right? Unless something changed when I was on my sabbatical. But that's wild. AOC is about to speak. I'm not an AOC fan, but I know she drives the numbers up like Big Trump. You know what I'm saying? So let's see what he has to say. I know people going to jump in, fuck AOC, F AOC, the tribe, whatever they are. But let's see what she has to say.
Hear that has kind of become cliche up here. But for years, members of Congress.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. I got to say, I know it was, what was it, like 6 or 7 years ago now, Chip, that you and I were elected here. And one of the first conversations that Representative Chip Roy and I had to do with money in politics, I remember, and just in general. And, I think that this issue has brought so many of us across the political spectrum together because we are united by the value that people should feel that their elected representative puts them and their interests first, and that we are here first and foremost to do the job that the public has sent us to do. And, in many ways,
fine. Thank
you
y'all for addressing that.
This podium shouldn't necessarily be facing out here. I don't think we need to sell the American people on this. We need to be turning it around and making sure that we get this thing past the post. And I want to thank
Sean, I hope you finish your
for the effort you've put in this Congress specifically.
Reset your shit.
This forward, and every year we've been getting closer. And I do believe, as we said, that this year we're going to get the vote. And I also want to thank Brian Fitzpatrick as well for for some of the work that we've done in co-sponsoring our original bill on this. But it's very rare, I feel, in Washington that when we bring multiple stakeholders and folks together to negotiate on a bill, that you leave that room feeling like the bill got better. A lot of times it feels that we'll get to an agreement and we're holding our nose to get something past the post. But I genuinely feel in this process that in putting all of our bills together, we've actually ended up with a product that is legitimately stronger than the sum of its parts. And it is one of those rare moments where I feel like Washington is working the way that it's supposed to work. And
I think that's the part where, again, both sides of the aisle. Again, AOC came in, bartender, took out one of the highest ranking members in Congress, made some headwinds, went against Nancy, went against the establishment. She's kind of ingrained herself in now. She is the establishment now, right? Because you see, it's not as firebrand as it used to be. But I think that a part of that in time, what'd she say, 6, 8, however, and damn near 10 years, right? She's not going nowhere. But it's the point of saying, now that she's in, she kind of sees that, okay, cool, there are moments where we can be not bisexual, bipartisan. But we can actually have constructive arguments about real things that people really care about. And I think that when we get to a point of not just focusing on men and women sports, because that was a divisive issue, right? I'll just stick there. And I'm pro-trans. I have trans friends. So I have gay friends. But I'm not attacking anybody. But I think that when you have a divisive issue like that, that ends up being an issue, right? So collectively, it's more to a point of saying, it's good to see the overall camaraderie between these elected officials. I hated it had to be Epstein and, of course, stock trading, because, it's hate to see. And it's kind of simple how it happens, right? You come in, you're already rich, cool. You're having all these meetings, these elected officials having all these meetings with people about policy that'll impact their business. And you sit back and say, well, damn, legislative director, who would this impact? Oracle, Meta, Facebook. And our company, this will benefit us by doing this. And here's how it'll benefit us. and you think to yourself, well, damn, this law doesn't get changed for another 3, 4, 5 months. So you got a long way to go. It's the first conversation. At the Sunday dinner, why don't we go get 100,000 shares of metal? Why? Let's just do it. Like, just don't ask me, just do it. And then all of a sudden, next election cycle, new financial reports, you see they made $200 million off metal. How did it happen? Because it's not insider trading. It's just the ballpark of understanding that the policy is going to impact the business. So if you invest in this business and this law changes, there's a good chance that all rise. What does they say? Y'all know the damn quote: "A rising tide lifts all ships." That's what it is. So that's what's really happening. And now we have some legislation that they can get behind and say, you know what? Let's stop the stock trading from happening, and let's put more teeth into the loopholes of sexual assault victims getting justice.
It feels foreign and it feels alien, and it's like, what's going on here? But I also think it is proof that
I was going to say this earlier. That's why I initially paused it. This is what people, I think, elect people for. Realistically, constructively, I think that even Republicans sometimes, I'm going to vote for somebody in Republican values, but if it came down to it, somebody who can negotiate with the opposite side. And I think that's collectively, I don't think people want a fighter. I think they're electing a negotiator. They're not electing, my perspective, they're not electing someone to say, yeah, you're my hero, you're my king. They're saying, hey, go fight for me on this shit because I believe that you'll have my ideals and best interests in heart when you make a decision on this. Not be bought by the special interests.
that things can.
You are. I am a special interest, if anything.
Put our disagreements aside, of which, of course, there may be many, but we focus on the things that we have in common. We can make our country better. We can make this institution better, and we can increase and earn the faith of the American people, which is really genuinely the core of our work here. And so to that end, I want to thank everyone for their incredibly hard work. We are going to get this done. It requires standing up against the powers that be, but because of the support of the American people on this issue, you all have generated the momentum necessary to give us the power to be able to do this. And I look forward to bringing this to a vote. I look forward to banning the trading of individual stock on the floor and by members of Congress. And I'm looking forward to making this place a better place that puts the American people first. So thank you all so much.
Thank you for everyone for being here. As you know, the group behind us has been very vocal on this topic, and not to reiterate what Chiproy had stated, but I think it's 95% of Americans support this. I sometimes feel like an adjudicator in this job, so I guess I'll be the one to say that we've asked nicely for leadership to put this on the floor. If they don't, I'm saying timeline is end of month. There is a discharge petition.
And I'm Pauline Luna.
I think it's very clear where the White House stands on this. I don't speak for the White House, but the president has stated that he supports banning this because it is corrupt. Frankly, the fact that
she's from Florida, right?
Plus 600% returns on their investment is wrong. But more importantly, how could you ever be expected to represent your constituents when you're clearly working?
Yeah, that is Pauline Luna.
So that's why we're here today.
I like that. Yeah, child.
Okay. Representative Burchett, because he helped work on that discharge. But we are very hopeful that this will be brought to the floor in regular order, and we look forward to deliver this one to the American people.
No, I don't like snow bunnies. I'm married to a sister, but she's attractive.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you so much to Seth and Chip and all the people on the stage. Look, this is a message to our colleagues, okay?
Is anybody else notable
You may
speaking?
have traded up till now. You may have operated within the confines of the law and
Not
the
really.
rules and the
I'm
regulations.
gonna find something else.
This is your chance to do the right thing. This is your chance to do the right thing. We're not going to judge what you did before now.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to
Now
bring
that
up.
this bill
Wait a
is
minute.
going to come to the floor, and we're going to make sure of that, it's your chance to get right with the American people. Because at the end of the day, Congress is not a casino. It's not a stock exchange. It's not a betting parlor. The only bet we should be making is on the American people. We can't serve the American people and the public interest at the same time that we're serving our stock portfolio. Please, fellow members, we're not judging you, but now is the time to do the right thing.
That's right. I'm gonna switch over to this other video. CNN has a special on, I guess, Chicago. We were talking about that earlier. I think it'll be interesting to see. Quick, refresh anybody first time here. I am the Hip Hop Lobbyist. Welcome back to the channel. It is your boy. We've been live streaming for a couple hours today. I have a call in 5 minutes. It's crazy. I got real work to do. We're going to watch a little bit of this documentary, this special on CNN about Chicago. Let's see what people have to say, man. It's almost 2 o'clock.
I lost 9 family members to gun violence. Only one of my family members made it to be in his 40s.
Cedric Hawkins is now 44. He works with the anti-gun violence group Chicago Cred, trying to make peace before things turn violent, sometimes between gangs.
Is just trying to be able to obtain a non-aggression agreement. That don't mean that I don't still feel like that you deserve to die. That just means that right now we have a respect level, and the respect is, I don't like you, you don't like me, I ain't gonna come in your hood, you don't come in my hood.
Wait a minute. Back it up. I know some people would probably say like, damn, Phil, well, wait. I just want to hear it for myself again. I just want to make sure I heard what I heard. Because I think a part of conflict resolution is not saying, yeah, I still think you should die. I think conflict resolution is, you know what? We're going to agree to disagree. You good, I'm good, bro. We ain't got no pressure. Let's keep it moving. But let me just go back. I'm going to go back to hear what he said from the beginning. Because what?
Is now 44. He works with the anti-gun violence group Chicago Cred, trying to make peace before things turn violent, sometimes between gangs.
Is just trying to be able to obtain a non-aggression agreement. That don't mean that I don't still feel like that you deserve to die.
What? That's a mindset issue, bro. Like, what? What? Am I tripping? Chat, am I tripping? Chat, let me know if I'm tripping by my stance on this, because I just think that's some, what? That's the kind of news that is. You feel me? I don't understand. What the fuck? What?
That just means that right now we have a respect level, and the respect is, I don't like you, you don't like me, I ain't gonna come in your hood, you don't come in my hood.
And that is good enough.
And that's good enough.
And in his Southside Chicago neighborhood, he takes pride in even that compromise, because it means results.
Last year we had 4 individuals murdered in the Pullman area at this time.
Yeah.
This year, 2025, we haven't had 1 individual murdered this year.
President Trump has threatened to want to send in the National Guard. You feel like even just like the presence of military here?
Presence of military will put our communities in a situation where they feel like they are incarcerated. We are already in a situation in Chicago where the trust with CPD, law enforcement, is very, very low. He's gonna do nothing but put our communities in Chicago in a situation where the trust is gonna go lower than it already is.
It might throw off the playbook that it sounds like
is working.
Citywide, murders are down over 30% compared to last year, and shootings are down almost 40%, which is on pace to be below pre-pandemic levels of violence. But that's still over 250 lives lost.
I gotta stop it right there, y'all. I'm gonna be respectful to my next meeting at 2 o'clock. Cause I don't understand. Wait, that's another. But cool, that's my soundboard. I added that in so people can hear it. So I have a new section of the show. Well, I'm gonna call Smoke Detector News, because most people will hear smoke detectors in the background and get upset. Like, damn, change your battery. Well, you gonna pay attention, and you gonna see that the soundboard's ready.
Got him. We fucking got him.
They call them dumps, big, massive dumps.
So yeah, all put together, we're gonna have a new section on the show in Smoke Detector News Well, I'm gonna drop some bombs. Then I'm gonna drop the smoke detector right after. Cause you know and I know that the smoke detector doesn't beep this consistently between the news. So either way, make sure you like and subscribe. I gotta check out, I'm gonna clock off. I'm negotiating a huge deal. I gotta focus. Big things happening. I'm gonna stop the stream, but y'all make sure y'all tap in. Make sure y'all like and subscribe. I'm out. I'll be back with more later. Appreciate y'all.